Thought I found a way. Thought I found a way, yeah. But you never go away, never go away. So I guess I gotta stay now. Oh, I hope someday I'll make it out of here, even if it takes all night or 100 years. Need a place to hide, but I can't find one near. Wanna feel alive outside. I can fight my fear. Isn't it lovely? All alone, heart made of glass, my mind of stone. Tear me to pieces, skin and bone. Hello, welcome home. This is the beginning of an amazingly beautiful song called Lovely by Billie Eilish and Khaled. And when I woke up this morning, that song was playing, that melody was playing in my mind. And so I wanted to revisit it. And the thing that I love the most about this song and what makes it so beautiful and so touching is that it speaks really deeply to how it feels to be depressed. It paints a picture of the emotions that one feels when we are feeling depressed. And so, if you are someone who right now, in this moment, is feeling depressed, or you yourself have been depressed before, or you have been affected by family members that you have known, friends that you've known, partners that you've known that are suffering or have suffered from depression. I wrote this speech for you. When I was in graduate school, I had this friend. She was amazing, and her name was Morgan, and she was this ball of energy. Every time Morgan came into the room, you knew it was going to be a good time. You know, she just made everything really fun and really enjoyable, and her style was amazing. She always looked well put together. She was just an awesome spirit, a great energy, a ball of light, a beam of light. Until one day I started to notice that Morgan's brightness wasn't shining as much, that Morgan wasn't speaking as much as she used to, and she wasn't laughing as much as she used to. And I remember sitting next to her in class, and I looked over and she was drawing a picture of a phoenix, and she was writing all these words around it. And I whispered to her, "Are you okay?" And she just looked at me sort of with this blank stare, and she gave me a half smile, and she looked back down at her notebook. And then one day I got this call. I was sitting in this lecture, this really boring lecture, and my phone kept going off. And I thought it was weird because all my friends knew I was in this lecture. And so finally, because it was going off so much, I looked at it because it was vibrating, and it said, "Morgan is in the hospital." And I remember just jumping up out of my seat and then grabbing all my stuff and just running through the whole auditorium, and people were looking at me and I didn't care, and I just ran to the hospital. And I saw Morgan there, in a gown with the same blank stare. And she was talking a little bit, but she was out of it. And every so often she would do this dry heave, like she was going to throw up, but nothing would come out. And I was scared. I didn't know what to say to her or what to do. I never experienced something like this before, so I just sat with her. I just sat there with her. She apparently overdosed on pills in her apartment. Well, she had tried to. And her roommate had found her and called an ambulance. She went home for the rest of that semester, and I graduated from that graduate program, but it was a lot. It was intense because what they had done was they crammed everything into one whole year, everything you needed to know about teaching and education into 1 year. So it was an intense program. And a couple of years after I graduated, I went to this conference and I heard someone call my name, and I turned around and I saw Morgan. And she looked really happy, and she was wearing bright colors, and she was being her spunky self. And I gave her a hug, and I just hugged her. During the conference, she gave a speech where she shared about all the things she had been through. She shared about her journey. And I was really inspired by it. And I was so happy to see her shining bright. And then 2 more years passed, and I was working as a teacher, and I got this Facebook message. And the message had a subject line that said something like, candlelight ceremony. And I opened it, and the message said, Morgan had passed away because of suicide. It never said exactly what it was, but later I'd seen some posts from her family about doing a night walk to celebrate people they had lost for suicide. When I saw that message, again, I didn't know what to say or what to do or how to express how I felt. And I started having all these flashbacks and memories of Morgan and all the times that we had celebrated together and all the times we had had fun together and laughed and danced and gotten through all the things we got through in our graduate program. And one particular memory stuck out to me the most. And when we were in graduate school, going through all that intensity, I remember someone knocked on my door in my apartment, and I opened the door, and there she was in the doorway smiling at me. And she said, I brought you something. I brought you a gift. I said, what did you bring me? She brought me some incense, and she brought me an incense holder. She said, you need to change the energy in your space. And I had a futon at the time that served as my couch and my bed, and we sat there, and she just sat with me because it was like she knew that I was hiding, just like how she had felt. She knew I was hiding, and I was. I was hiding my own depression. And what made it better was her just being there, her just sitting with me. So if you're someone who is experiencing depression, experiencing the loneliness that you can feel with depression. I hear you. I understand. I feel what you're going through. A lot of times we don't talk about depression. We don't talk about the feelings that we feel. There's a stigma that is associated with mental health, with going to therapy. And there's this negative connotation or this taboo that's attached to it. And because we don't talk about it, we start to feel guilty about how we feel about ourselves. And that digs us deeper into a feeling of depression and deeper into a feeling of loneliness. There are so many things that we are taught we can do to alleviate depression, from taking pills to drinking alcohol. Believe me, I tried it all. I mean, I tried to drink it away. I tried, to smoke. I tried to exercise. I tried all sorts of things. I tried to go for walks in nature. All those things have helped me momentarily. But, what's helped me the most is this right here. Saying it out loud. Speaking my truth, my feelings out loud. Whether it was first writing it down in my journal or saying it in a voice memo, saying it on my podcast, but saying it out loud. When we are lonely or when we are around people that are depressed, it can really feel like we don't need anyone. No one understands our pain. No one understands what we're going through. And we can lash out in anger. We can push people away. We can just feel so deep down in how we feel in the confines of our minds that we can't escape. And sometimes the only way out is, for some of us, suicide. But when we feel depressed, as hard as it is, we have to talk about it. Even if we're talking about it to our journal, even if we're talking about it to our dog, even if we're talking about it to our voice memo. What is important is community. What is important is being vulnerable enough to share how you're feeling, being vulnerable enough to say, I need help, being vulnerable enough to say, I am hurting. And then it is not only that, it is also up to us as a community to listen to each other. It is so important for us to listen to each other. When we have someone in our lives who is depressed, it can be just like that moment in the hospital where I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. But I sat there and I just listened. Think about your own life and who you can sit and listen to, who you can hold space for in your life, who you can support in your life, who you can check on in your life, who you can give a call in your life. Community is what saves us, because community is what we need as humanity. We need to get together. We need to talk about how we feel. We need to express when we feel pain. And it's really hard sometimes to feel pain. It's really embarrassing. You can feel guilty. You can feel ashamed. You can feel like nobody understands the pain you've been through, like nobody understands your story. But you know what happens when you start to share your vulnerability? You know what happens when you start to tell people that you are hurting, to tell people that you need help, to tell people that you are struggling, to tell people that you can't make it all by yourself, to tell people how you're feeling deep down, you find that you are not alone. You find that there are people that are going through the exact same feeling you are, and who are just waiting for you to open up to them, to express how you feel, because they themselves feel lonely and they don't know how to express how they feel. There's this negative connotation about talking about depression. There's a negative connotation and there's a negative feeling and stigma that is attached to mental health. But in order for us to get through things as a people, as a community, as humanity, we must open up about it. We have to start talking about it. We have to start listening to each other. We have to stop hiding behind taboos and I don't want to talk about it. Especially in communities of color. I notice that when people say things like, I want to go to therapy, it's like, girl, what's wrong with you? Why you need to go to therapy? Support your friends. Listen to people when they say what they need. Hold space for people when you notice maybe they're not acting the same way that they used to act. Maybe they're not expressing themselves in the same way. Often we notice things about people, but we don't say anything because they don't say anything. But I urge you and I encourage you to stay aware and stay observant. Pay attention to your friends. Pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to how you talk to yourself, the comments that you make. We need to support each other, and the only way we can start supporting each other if we allow ourselves to get vulnerable. If we allow ourselves to be honest about how we're feeling. I went to therapy for a whole year while I was in graduate school, and it changed my life. I want you to know, if you are someone who is feeling alone right now, who is feeling depressed right now, who is feeling unsure right now, who is feeling all sorts of anxiety right now, I hear you, I understand you, and I love you. A lot of times in this life, we feel like nobody loves us, nobody understands us. But what makes us human is our ability to be vulnerable. So think about how you're going to be vulnerable today. Think about your strong friends, the people in your life who are always having everything together. And I want you to do something that we don't commonly do anymore. I want you today at some point to reach out to someone that you haven't spoken to in a long time. I want you to give them a phone call just to say hello, even if it is a voice message, even if you send them an audio text message, but send them something using the power of your voice. Just like music, the power of the voice is special. It's what brings us together. It's what speaks to our souls. Call someone and check in on them. Call someone you haven't heard from in a long time, just to say hello and see how they're doing. It's important. Depression can be hard and it can affect all facets of our lives. But I want you to know you are not alone in your story. Reach out to people and share what you are going through. Allow yourself to feel the pain. Be vulnerable while you're expressing how you feel, because you know what? Once you do that, you will let yourself go enough to feel free. It is freeing to be vulnerable and share how you feel. You can change your life because you can be more aware of your own feelings and the feelings of others, and you can be vulnerable enough to share your story and to hold space for others to share theirs. You are not alone. I see you, I hear you, and I love you. You can change your life. It all starts with you being brave and being bold. Have a beautiful, amazing, love-filled day. Thank you so much for listening. This is my 28th speech. I am so thankful to everyone who's been listening. If this speech resonated with you, please leave me a comment, share this video, or like or love this video. I appreciate you so much. Have a beautiful, amazing day.